What's up, everybody? This is my review of the Motorola Razr. I know most people have already posted their reviews, but I got mine a little late, and I wanted to wait until I've used it for a little bit. And I think there's a few things I've noticed that a lot of people haven't, so this won't be a pointless review. So, first, let's talk about the build quality. I've seen a lot of people say it's plastic. It feels kind of cheap. And, well, it doesn't feel like the most premium thing in the world. Plastic back doesn't really help with that. The front is entirely glass. The hinge and all the sides are metal. If you want to be confirmed with that, watch a Jerry Rig Everything video. The only plastic is, of course, on the back, the chin, and the screen. Which, the screen, obviously plastic. Z-Flip is the first class one, and we'll have to see how that holds up durability wise. So, about that plastic back. It doesn't feel absurdly cheap even when you hold it. However, especially coming from Motorola, I really wish instead of this plastic they used either like the Kevlar they use on their older Razr phones, the original Razr smartphones. Kevlar is extremely nice, it's smooth, and it's pretty scratch resistant, and it's just unique. And then there was the option of ballistic nylon, like on the Droid Turbo. And I haven't actually felt the metallized glass fiber versions of these phones, but probably would have been a very distinct upgrade from the generic plastic as well. It's not like it feels absurdly cheap, it's just on a $1,500 phone, it feels kind of out of place. But it serves a purpose. It kind of makes it so you don't really worry about abusing the back of this phone a little bit. You don't need to be so gentle with it, or that's the feeling it provides, and that's useful. A few more physical things. The fingerprint reader is actually extremely fast and very useful. You can use it to turn off the display and turn it on. And that's something I really enjoy, being able to turn off your phone without hitting the power button. And as for the buttons here on the side, the power button is at the bottom when it's flipped. They are very small. And then there's a volume rocker with half separated buttons. They're semi-satisfying to press, but they are absurdly small and very hard to hit, especially when unfolded. Definitely a weak point. And this is just something personal, but I really do love the chin here. I've always liked it with Motorola phones. Even my original Droid Razr M had the little chin, and the Droid Turbo did to an extent. Not nearly as pronounced, but I feel like it definitely gives it a little bit of character. Something most phones kind of lack nowadays. If you've never used a Motorola phone, the ambient display on Motorola phones, in my opinion, are the best out there. Some Motorola phones had ambient or IR sensors you waved your hand over. This one, not exactly sure how it works. It definitely works every time you pick it up due to a motion sensor, but waving your hand over it doesn't always activate it. It's not always on either, but I haven't noticed it not really coming on when I want it to, so, you know, it works, and it's very useful to interact with your notifications from there. You can reply to text with voice, not with a physical keyboard or software keyboard. I really wish you could. Hope Motorola ends up changing something with that. So one thing that has been reported numerous times is the hinge noise. And while it's true that it technically exists, I don't think it's a byproduct of the hinge. I believe it's how the screen actually folds. Here. Because what it's doing is the screen folds inwards very loosely, the bottom tucks in and the center part kind of just forms a parabola and doesn't fold flat. So it does obviously make a noise with the screen moving into the bottom. Let me turn it on here so you can see it a little bit. The screen does visibly move and it tucks into the center. So I don't think the noise is actually coming from the hinge as much as the screen just moving. And whether that's actually a good thing or not, I would think it would, because it means there's less clear problems with the hinge, which is what you want to hold up. So I think that's been a little misjudged, but we'll have to wait and see with the durability of the hinge. So also real quick, onto one of the weird things I've noticed, and it is possible to open the phone with one hand. I've seen a lot of people complain about that. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's definitely not difficult. However, I have seen a lot of complaints about not being able to close it with one hand, and that's actually absurdly easy, so I don't know what all the fuss about that is. But real quick here. If you have a darker wallpaper, or this isn't even a wallpaper dependent thing, it's just the easiest way to notice it for me. So around 15% to 80% brightness, the grays on this OLED display are very orangish yellow, but below 15% and above around 80%, they're perfectly acceptable grays. And the weird thing is, here, if I go to one of the levels where it should display here, at the very top of the display, I don't think this is going to pick up on camera, but at the very top of the display here, in the same row as the notification bar, this isn't going to pick up, you'll just have to take my word for it, but there's a very orangish yellow haze, kind of like it looks like it's on night mode, but the thing is, it has to be a software thing, because when you go to an app, and then you go back, it takes a second for the haze to reappear, like it comes down. So it's not always there. And I believe this is a software thing, so Motorola might end up fixing it, and the fact that it doesn't even pick up on camera means it's not like a massive eyesore. However, once you notice it, you will notice it. And I don't even know if it's just mine, but that is something I've noticed that I've never seen complained about, so it's worth mentioning. The feel of the screen, I was actually relatively impressed with how non-plasticky the screen feels. However, you do feel the steel ridges under the display. It's not as obtrusive as I thought it was going to be watching some reviews. However, it is just a different feeling you'd have to get used to. It's not really an issue for me personally. Alright, so I swapped over to recording on my Xperia 1, and now you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. And like I said, this is more pronounced in real life. You can notice it in a regularly lit room. But you can see the top here having like this backlight bleed, but it's an OLED, so it doesn't. And you can also see just the shade, or the hue of the gray changing a little bit. And this isn't really captured that well due to the refresh rate, but it's just very strange how below 15%, that line's not there. And real quick here again, I'll try to display. Here, I'll go into settings, go back, and it takes a second to appear. It's very strange. It has to be a software thing, but I've not seen anyone else mention it. And that brings us to the cameras, which are not very good. The back camera, no optical image stabilization, so it immediately loses a point for that. The focus, very, very slow. But in terms of just like raw picture quality, it's not horrible. It is 16 megapixels, so they're relatively sharp. They're just extremely dull. There's very little color in them. And then the front camera, it's horrible. There's not really a lot to say other than it's just bad. It's there for video calls and nothing else. Camera, very, very underwhelming for $1,500. However, there are the very convenient Moto actions. You can use the back camera as your front camera, a little bit better. And if you've never used a Motorola phone, the Motorola actions are insanely convenient. However, the flashlight one, you double chop to turn it on. This comes on in your face, blind you unless you remember to swap it around like that. And this one I've also noticed is a lot harder to do on the Razr than other Motorola phones, just because it is so stout and you don't really want to do this action when it's unfolded. Battery life, I have been using this as my primary phone, and I haven't really had any issues with it. It's a 2510 milliamp hour battery, and it's made me through a full day every time, with anywhere from 40% left. I'm not a very, very active phone user. I don't watch a lot of videos on my phone. Basically, I just use it for audio streaming, and I check it every once in a while. But if you aren't a massive power user, which if you're buying this phone, knowing the specs it has, you're probably not. You're not going to have a problem with the battery, and it does have quick charge. Haven't really had any problems with that. A few other things that haven't really been touched on in videos. It's really odd, there's 3 creases on this phone. They're very, very hard to see. They're definitely less pronounced than, say, on the Galaxy Fold and even the Z Flip from what I've seen, but they are there. The first time you take the phone out of the box, you're only going to have this one crease where the actual hinge is. These other 2 form from, like I said, when the display folds in. They're just from that. You don't really notice them when you're using the phone, however, they are there. Don't forget that. Something else. I believe CNET's review said the headphones that come with it aren't noise canceling. No, they are not. They are nice headphones, or earbuds rather, but they are not noise canceling. Don't think they are. In terms of just like performance, I haven't had any issues with it. Snapdragon 700 or 710. I am extremely used to flagship phones. My past phones have been the Xperia 1, Google Pixel 2 XL, and the Moto Z. Before that, the Droid Turbo. So I've had a flagship phone for my past 4 phones. This hasn't really disappointed me yet in terms of performance other than the camera. You only have 128 gigabytes of storage. I really would have loved an SD card, but what are you going to do when it's this thin? It is really nice just being able to throw this in your pocket. However, the convenience kind of wears off when you take it out of your pocket and then have to fold it. This display is very nice with the Motorola actions. You can see notifications here and do a little bit with them. But I really wish this operated as a full screen. If Motorola can do that in a software update, it'd be lovely. Really, all you can do right now with it is change a few settings, and you can change what these are in Motorola settings app, but you can only have 6, and it'd just be a lot nicer to do more with this screen, because it is nicer than even the Z Flips, and it's just kind of a shame. Something else to mention, the charging brick is a very soft touch, which, that always feels really good when you first use it. However, I haven't even used this charger, and you can already see some fingerprints forming. Soft touch stuff is always, it feels great when you first take it out. It doesn't really hold up well, it gets very scratched, gets a lot of dust on it, loses the soft but smooth finish. It does have fold out prongs. All the cables are braided. They're quite stiff. Headphone ones aren't too bad. But, you know, the charger, I personally am not a fan of braided cable just because they're typically very stiff. I know it's more durable, but even on the, there you can see a little fingerprint. But, you know, for $1,500, this is definitely, you're paying for Razr branding, and you're paying for having the first clamshell folding phone. We'll have to see how it holds up durability-wise. Personally, the Galaxy Z Flip is just straight up a better phone. However, I've always been a fan of Motorola design. I do think this looks better. And I do have some concerns about the Galaxy Z Flip, like how well folding glass is going to hold up with, you know, just this constant tension of being folded like this. We see that it makes these two creases on the Razr at the top and bottom. The middle crease is from the hinge. Top and bottom are from the constant tension of folding. But, you know, it's also just Lenovo technically makes this phone, and they have very good laptop hinges with like Lenovo Yogas and everything. So personally, I just trust Motorola's hinge design more than Samsung's, but we'll have to wait and see. It's definitely a better phone though if you're like a power user, the Z Flip, and it's a little bit cheaper, but this is pretty damn cool. So thanks for watching, guys. One final thing, a lot of people have also commented on the box saying it amplifies your speakers. No, it doesn't. You can keep it if you want to, but do not keep it because you think it amplifies your speakers, because it really doesn't. I'm personally going to keep mine just because I keep most of my boxes, and this one in particular is quite nice. However, it's not a replacement for a Bluetooth speaker or anything of this sort, so it's a neat box. Definitely not a speaker. However, keeping the Razr branded little accessory case is a good idea. It is a little cheaper than I think it looks, or it feels cheaper than I think it looks, including on the inside, but you know, it serves a purpose, holding your documentation, holding headphones, USB-C to headphone adapter. I really wish, and I think this is somewhat of a missed opportunity, that you could fit the Razr in it, carry around the Razr in this so you don't have to worry about dust getting in the hinge and everything. But the Razr does not fit in here. It's just too thick, or too tall rather, both ways. So, you know, would have been a really neat inclusion. Basically just a satchel or something to carry it around in. But, you know, it's still a nice inclusion. So for $1,500, you're getting a phone that is definitely usable, but does have some very strange quirks, and of course some sacrifices that had to be made. But you are paying for one of the first devices of this form factor with the folding display, and especially this form of folding display, it was the first one. So you're definitely paying partially for the name, even Motorola Razr, but I'm not really regretting my purchase, and I think a lot of people will be happy with this phone. It's just a matter of how well it's going to hold up over time, but using it for a week, I don't really feel that bad about needing to baby it or anything. There are cases for it if you really worry about it. There's an otter box. I will have to see how dust gets in there, but I'm pretty happy with it so far. So thanks for watching, guys. It's been a review of the Motorola Razr.